Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we dig into your sources and pull out the really key nuggets of knowledge for you.
That's right.
And today, well, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive. It's an ancient text, the Kaṇṇakatthalasuttaṃ.
A dialogue, really.
Exactly. It features a king, a sage of the Buddha, actually, and some really profound questions get asked.
Yeah, timeless stuff.
Totally. So our mission today is basically to unpack this conversation between King Pasenadi of Kosala and the Buddha. We're looking at how this ancient wisdom tackles issues like, well, what is knowledge, social equality, even the existence of gods, you know?
And it's striking how relevant it still feels. It grapples with things we still talk about.
Yeah.
Misinformation, social divisions, the nature of reality itself. It's more than just history.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. Where does this conversation happen?
Well, we find the Buddha staying in a place called Udanya,
Oh.
specifically at the Kaṇṇakattha Deer Park.
Right. And King Pasenadi, he's the king of Kosala. He happens to be in the area on some business. And he decides, okay, I should go visit the Buddha. But first, there's this formality.
Yeah, he doesn't just show up. He sends a messenger ahead.
Right. To give his greetings, ask about the Buddha's health, his comfort, you know, the usual polite things. And also to say, hey, I'll come by later after lunch.
And this initial bit, it really underlines the formal etiquette, the respect involved in these kinds of meetings back then. It's all quite structured before the real talk even starts.
But then, this is the part I found kind of amazing. Two nuns, their names are Soma and Sakula, they overhear the king's plans. Now, they could have sent their own messenger to the Buddha, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
But they don't. Instead, they, very cleverly go up to the king while he's having his lunch.
Oh, interesting.
And they ask him, hey, could you pass on our greetings to the Buddha for us? It's super direct, almost like saying, hold my rice bowl.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? It shows real resourcefulness, a certain agency, you know. They just picked the most direct route. Yeah. And apparently, when the king actually delivers their message, the Buddha even asks about it. Like, why didn't they send their own messenger?
Oh, he did.
Yeah. And the king explains how quick thinking they were. And the Buddha just wishes them well. It's a neat little side story.
It really is. Okay, so pleasantries exchanged, messages delivered. What's the first big topic they tackle?
Omniscience. That's where they start.
Yeah, right. The king tells the Buddha about this rumor that's going around his court. He says something like, people are saying the ascetic Gautama claims no ascetic or Brahmin can know everything, see everything all at once. That state just doesn't exist.
Yeah, he relays this rumor, and this is super important. The Buddha needs to clarify.
Because it wasn't quite right.
Not exactly. He says, look, what I actually declare is that no ascetic or Brahmin will simultaneously know all and see all. Such state does not exist.
Ah, okay. So that one word, simultaneously, that's the key.
Exactly. It's not about denying deep insight or vast knowledge. It's about the nature of knowing everything, seeing everything, all in the very same instant. That specific condition.
So someone back at the palace must have, paraphrased it wrong or missed that crucial word.
Seems like it. And the king, he gets it. He acknowledges the Buddha's clarification as a reasoned statement. It makes sense to him.
Do we find out who spread the initial rumor?
We do, actually. Later on, it comes out that a Brahmin named Sanjaya of Akasagata was the one spreading the slightly twisted version in the palace.
Wow. So it's a lesson right there, isn't it, about precise language?
Absolutely. It's fascinating how easily, even back then, a profound teaching could get distorted, miscommunicated. It really highlights the need for clarity, especially with subtle ideas. It wasn't a rejection of knowing. It was a very specific point about how one knows.
Okay, so that's omniscience clarified. Where does the conversation go next?
The king then shifts to something very grounded, very social, the class system.
Ah, the four varnas, right? The Kshatriya.
Yep, the warriors, the nobles, then the Brahmin, the priests.
The Vaishyas, who were merchants, farmers.
And the Sutta, the laborers. The king asks, basically, is there any real difference, any distinction between these groups?
Spiritually speaking.
Well, initially, the Buddha does mention that, in terms of everyday deference, like who you greet first, Kshatriyas and Brahmins are usually seen as foremost.
Okay, the social convention.
Right. But the king quickly jumps in and says, no, I'm not asking about that stuff, the visible things in this life. I mean, is there a difference in their spiritual potential, their outcomes in the afterlife? Liberation.
He wants to know about the deep stuff.
Exactly. And the Buddha's response is, well, it's pretty radical for the time. He outlines these 5 factors conducive to exertion.
Panyaka Padanyangani.
That's the term. 5 things that help you strive, basically. Active qualities.
Okay, what are they?
So first is faith, but specifically faith in the Tathagata's, the Buddha's enlightenment, trusting that path.
Got it. Faith. Number 2.
Good health, pretty straightforward.
Ugh.
Being free from illness, having good digestion, basically, having the physical capacity for practice.
Makes sense. 3.
Honesty and sincerity, like being straight up, not deceitful, showing yourself as you truly are.
Okay. Number 4.
Effort.
Yeah.
Or diligence. Really putting in the work. Aroused effort, the text says, to get rid of the unwholesome stuff and cultivate the wholesome.
Right. Active striving. And the last one.
Number 5 is wisdom. Specifically, this penetrating wisdom that sees things clearly and ultimately leads to the end of suffering.
Faith, health, honesty, effort, wisdom.
Okay, and here's the punchline.
Yeah.
The Buddha says if people from any of those 4 classes, Khattiya, Brahmin, Vaisya, Sudra, doesn't matter if they possess these 5 factors and work hard.
Yeah.
It leads to their long-term well-being and happiness, period.
So it completely flips the script. It's not about your birth family.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's about your individual qualities, your conduct, your effort. Inherited status just doesn't factor into this equation for spiritual success.
That's wow. But the king pushes a bit more, doesn't he?
He does. He says, okay, let's say you have people from all 4 classes, and they all have these 5 factors, and they all exert themselves correctly. Is there still any difference between them then? In their liberation, in reaching the final goal?
He wants absolute clarity.
And he gets it. The Buddha's answer is incredibly direct. He says, I declare no difference in their exertion. And then, even stronger, I declare no difference whatsoever in their liberation.
No difference whatsoever.
Yeah,
That's huge.
Massive. And he uses a couple of analogies to really drive it home.
Ah, yes, the analogies. What were they?
First, he talked about trained animals versus untrained ones. Imagine 2 elephants or horses or oxen that are well-trained,
Okay.
and 2 that aren't trained at all. Which pair reaches the goal?
The trained ones, obviously. Doesn't matter what kind of animal they are.
Exactly. His point is, like the trained animals, those with the 5 factors can achieve the goal. Those without them, like the untrained animals, they just can't, regardless of their type or class.
Okay, that's clear. What's the second analogy?
The fire analogy, he asked the king. Imagine you make fire using wood from different trees, say a fancy sal tree, or a common mango tree, or a fig tree.
Right. Different sources.
Does the fire itself, the flame, the color, the light it gives off, does it look different depending on the wood it came from?
No, I guess not. Fire is fire.
Precisely. And in the same way, the Buddha says, the fire of liberation, ignited by this spiritual exertion, fueled by the 5 factors.
It's the same fire no matter who ignites it.
Exactly. No difference in the liberation achieved. It's such a powerful statement of spiritual equality based purely on inner qualities and effort, completely decoupling it from birth or social standing.
Yeah.
I mean, for that time and place,
Yeah.
that's revolutionary thinking.
Truly radical. Okay, so from social structures too, where does the king's questioning lead next?
It takes a turn towards the metaphysical. He asks, point blank, are there devas? Are there gods?
Simple question, but probably a complex answer coming.
You guessed it. The Buddha, again, doesn't just say yes or no. He asks for clarification first. He says, essentially, are you asking if they come back to this state of being or not? Kaṇṇakattha is the Pali term. Do they return to this world, this cycle?
Okay, how does he answer that?
He draws a distinction based on affliction. He says, those devas who are subject to affliction, sabhyapaja, meaning they're still caught up in things like suffering, defilements, limitations, they do come back to this state of being.
They return.
But those devas who are not subject to affliction, abhipaja, the ones who are free from that stuff, liberated, they do not come back to this state of being.
So the key is whether they're still bound by suffering or limitation.
Exactly. That's the dividing line for whether they return or not.
Now, I remember something dramatic happens around here in the text, right? An interruption.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right at this point, the king's own son, General Vaishyas, he just jumps into the conversation.
What does he ask?
He asks about those non-afflicted devas, the ones who don't return. He asks, basically, can they be kicked out? Can someone remove them or banish them from that state of non-return?
Wow, that's quite a question. Like, who has jurisdiction even over the gods?
Right. It raises this whole issue of power and influence across different realms of existence.
Wow.
And it's not the Buddha who answers this time.
Who does?
Ananda, the Buddha's chief disciple, steps in. And he does it with a bit of clever framing. He notes the family connection, like, hey, I'm the Buddha's son spiritually, you're the king's son physically.
Huh. Okay, setting up a parallel.
Exactly. And then he uses this really neat analogy. He asks Vyachava, okay, think about your father, King Pasenadi. Can he banish people who are inside his kingdom?
Yes, of course. He's the king.
Right. Can he banish people outside his kingdom?
No, his power doesn't reach there.
Precisely. So Ananda then asks Vyachava, have you heard of the Tavatisa Devas, a specific realm of gods? Vyachava says, yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay.
Then Ananda asks, can your father, the king, banish them?
And Vishaba has to admit.
He has to admit, my father can't even see them, let alone banish them.
Ah, I see where Ananda's going with this.
Yeah. His point is crystal clear. Just like the king can't control what's beyond his perception and reach, those beings still caught in affliction, whether human or deva, they simply cannot control or banish those non-afflicted devas who exist beyond their realm of influence. Freedom from affliction puts you beyond the reach of those still bound by it.
That makes perfect sense. It's about the limits of influence based on one's own state.
Exactly. And Ananda clarifies this applies to the higher beings called Brahmas too. Same principle. The afflicted ones return, the non-afflicted ones don't, and the afflicted can't touch the non-afflicted.
And how does the king react to Ananda stepping in like this?
He's clearly impressed. The text says he exclaims, Ananda indeed, like acknowledging his wisdom. And it happens just as a messenger arrives to say it's time for the king to leave. Perfect timing.
So the audience is wrapping up. How does King Pasenadi feel about the whole discussion?
He seems deeply satisfied. He explicitly tells the Buddha how delighted he was with the answers he received.
To all his questions?
Yeah, he lists them out. The clarification on omniscience, the explanation about purification being equal across the four classes, and the insights into the nature of devas and brahmas based on affliction.
So it wasn't just answers, but answers that really landed for him.
Absolutely. It highlights how the Buddha didn't just give simple replies, but provided reasoned, nuanced explanations that addressed the king's core concerns and really resonated with him, shifting his understanding.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. What are the big takeaways from this deep dive into the Kaṇṇakattha Sutta?
Well, I mean, it feels incredibly relevant, doesn't it? First, there's that stark reminder about language and misinformation, how one word simultaneously changed the entire meaning. In our age of instant communication and, frankly, miscommunication, that lesson about precision really hits home.
Yeah, definitely. What else?
Then there's the whole discussion on social equality. This radical idea that your spiritual potential, your ability to reach liberation, has absolutely nothing to do with the social box you were born into.
It's all about those 5 factors: faith, health, honesty, effort, wisdom.
Exactly. It's about inner qualities and action. That's a challenge to rigid hierarchies, both then and arguably now too. It asks us to look beyond the surface.
And finally, that perspective on devas and brahmas.
Right. Defining their state, their return or non-return, based on whether they are still subject to affliction. He gives this interesting lens on existence, suggesting freedom from suffering is the key differentiator, even in realms beyond the human. And Ananda's point about influence, you can't affect what's truly beyond your own limitations.
So it really pushes us to think differently.
It does. The whole sutta kind of challenges us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look past the superficial stuff, the conventional wisdom. Focus on what's going on inside the qualities, the effort, the freedom from affliction.
Which leads to a question for you listening.
Yeah, what happens if you take this lens, apply it to your own life, your own assumptions, about knowledge, about status, about maybe even what you think is real or possible? Are there afflictions, limitations, biases, unchallenged beliefs in your own view that might be shaping what you perceive or what you think you can influence?
Something to chew on there. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a bit of a shortcut to understanding this text and maybe sparked a few aha moments along the way.
Hopefully so.
Join us next time for another deep dive into the sources that matter to you.